Rock and roll has always been more than just music. It's a lifestyle, a culture, and sometimes pure chaos. Behind the iconic songs and legendary performances are stories that are wilder than you could ever imagine. From hotel room rampages to jaw-dropping scandals, rock stars have lived life on the edge, leaving behind tales that are as unforgettable as their hits. Today, we're diving into some of the craziest, most unbelievable moments in rock history that prove why the genre has always been about breaking rules and living unapologetically. Buckle up. These stories are as loud and untamed as the music itself.
Seated by his infamy.
I looked evidently through an unconscious bat on the stage, and
Few moments in rock history are as bizarre and shocking as Ozzy Osbourne's infamous 1982 bat-biting incident. During a live show in Des Moines, Iowa, a fan tossed a dead bat onto the stage. Thinking it was a rubber prop, the Black Sabbath frontman picked it up and bit into it, only to realize, mid-bite, that the bat was very real. Osbourne was rushed to the hospital post-concert and endured weeks of painful rabies shots as a precaution. This wasn't Ozzy's first brush with odd behavior either. He once bit the head off a dove in a record label meeting. Ever the showman, Ozzy later turned the incident into a marketing stunt, selling plush bats with detachable heads on his website. It remains one of the wildest tales of heavy metal folklore. Few tales in rock history are as unsettling as the unlikely friendship between Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys and Charles Manson. In 1968, Wilson befriended Manson, who was a struggling musician trying to break into the industry. Manson saw an opportunity and wrote a song titled "Cease to Exist," inspired by the Beach Boys' inner tensions. Wilson liked the song and paid Manson with cash and a motorcycle, but the band heavily reworked it, releasing it as Never Learn Not to Love on the B-side of their single Bluebirds Over the Mountain. Manson's hopes for stardom were dashed, but the collaboration left an eerie mark on rock history, a chilling intersection of music and infamy. Rock and roll has its fair share of outrageous hotel stories, but Billy Idol's 1989 escapade in Thailand takes the cake. Following a tough breakup, Idol retreated to a luxury hotel in Bangkok for a vacation that quickly spiraled out of control. Over several weeks, Idol and his entourage indulged in rock star excess, partying, trashing the hotel room, and ignoring repeated pleas from management to tone it down. When Idol refused to leave, the hotel took an extraordinary step, calling the Thai military. Armed officials arrived, tranquilized Idol, strapped him to a gurney, and escorted him to the airport. By the time he woke up, he was handed a bill for $250,000 in damages. Idol's Thai getaway remains one of rock history's most infamous hotel disasters.
I get very, very scared, and I run, I grab Adam.
On September 19, 2008, Blink-182 drummer Travis Barker narrowly escaped death in a horrific plane crash. Following a performance in South Carolina, Barker boarded a private jet with his security guard, assistant, and close friend Adam Goldstein. As the plane attempted to take off, a tire burst, causing it to overshoot the runway and crash into an embankment before erupting in flames. Barker and Goldstein survived, but suffered severe burns, while 4 others, including 2 crew members, tragically lost their lives. The incident left Barker with a deep fear of flying, keeping him grounded for over a decade. In 2021, he conquered his phobia, boarding a plane for the first time in 13 years alongside his wife, Kourtney Kardashian. Barker's resilience stands as a testament to his strength in overcoming unimaginable trauma. James Brown was no stranger to drama, but his 1988 encounter with law enforcement was pure chaos. The godfather of soul stormed into an insurance office, shotgun in hand, furious about strangers using the restroom next door to his office. His erratic behavior terrified the staff, who called the police. Brown fled the scene, leading authorities on a wild car chase across state lines. Police only managed to stop him by shooting out his tires. Brown was convicted for the incident and sentenced to 6 years in prison, though he served less than half before being paroled. The episode remains a bizarre chapter in the life of one of music's most electrifying performers. In 1989, Guns N' Roses guitarist Izzy Stradlin made headlines for all the wrong reasons during a flight from Indianapolis to Los Angeles. After being asked to wait for the restroom, Stradlin lost his temper, berated a flight attendant, lit a cigarette on board, and ultimately urinated on the plane's galley floor. The flight made an emergency landing in Arizona, where Stradlin was arrested and charged. The incident served as a wake-up call for Stradlin, who decided to confront his substance abuse issues. He returned home to Indiana, got sober, and even stepped away from Guns N' Roses, citing difficulty dealing with his bandmates' continued drug use. Despite the controversy, Stradlin later reunited with the band in 1993, proving that redemption is possible even in rock's wildest moments. Eddie Van Halen drives a tank to Fred Durst's house. Rock feuds often produce wild stories, but Eddie Van Halen's clash with Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst is next level. After a failed jam session at Durst's Beverly Hills home, Van Halen stormed out, leaving behind some of his equipment in his frustration. When Durst failed to return his belongings quickly, Van Halen didn't just call a moving service. He showed up in a tank he'd purchased at a military auction. Armed with a gun, he demanded his gear back in a scene straight out of an action movie. Durst complied, and while no harm came of the incident, it remains one of rock's most bizarre confrontations. ZZ Top's 1976 worldwide Texas tour wasn't just a rock concert, it was a spectacle. The band brought a slice of Texas on the road, complete with live animals like rattlesnakes, vultures, a Texas longhorn steer, and a buffalo. During a stop at Pittsburgh's Three Rivers Stadium, things got out of hand. The audience was rowdy enough, pelting Aerosmith with beer bottles before ZZ Top even hit the stage, but the chaos continued the next day when their buffalo escaped. The rogue animal caused a commotion around the city, and the misadventure became a legendary tale. Even more outrageously, the buffalo made another great escape later that year, wreaking havoc on a lineup of limousines. ZZ Top's Texas flair truly knew no bounds.
Opinion of him?
Well, I think he does a damn good job about that.
The Who's drummer, Keith Moon, was infamous for his outrageous antics. On his 21st birthday in 1967, though Moon often lied about his age, he allegedly drove a Lincoln Continental into the swimming pool of a Holiday Inn in Flint, Michigan. The story has since become rock lore, though Moon later admitted the car didn't fully make it into the pool. It just caused a lot of damage. Regardless, Moon's legendary stunt got The Who permanently banned from Holiday Inns. Long before biting the bat, Ozzy Osbourne managed to get himself banned from the city of San Antonio, Texas, in 1982. While heavily intoxicated, Ozzy decided to relieve himself on a statue in front of the Alamo, a sacred site for Texans. Dressed in his girlfriend's dress, since his own clothes had been hidden to stop him from going out, Ozzy's act of rebellion enraged locals, and he was barred from entering San Antonio for a decade. During their 1969 tour, members of Led Zeppelin were staying at the Edgewater Inn in Seattle, a hotel known for letting guests fish from their rooms. The band reportedly caught a mud shark, and in a night of debauchery, used it in, well, let's just say very inappropriate antics. The story has been retold and exaggerated over the years, making it one of rock's most infamous and controversial tales. In 1976, David Bowie and Iggy Pop were staying in New York when police raided their hotel room and found them with a significant amount of marijuana. The duo was briefly jailed, but managed to keep the incident relatively low profile, considering their status as rock icons. The arrest didn't deter either of them from their wild lifestyles. If anything, it became another colorful chapter in their storied careers. At the 1969 Toronto Rock and Roll Revival, Alice Cooper accidentally created one of rock's most enduring urban legends. A chicken somehow ended up on stage during Cooper's performance. Thinking it could fly, Cooper tossed it into the crowd, only for fans to tear it apart. Newspapers reported that Cooper had bitten the head off the bird, which wasn't true. But the incident helped solidify his reputation as the godfather of shock rock. In 1969, the Rolling Stones hired the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club as security for their free Altamont Speedway concert in California. Armed with pool cues and high on chaos, the Angels clashed with the crowd, leading to the tragic death of a fan, Meredith Hunter. The event, captured in the documentary Gimme Shelter, is often cited as the dark end of the 1960s counterculture movement. Motley Crue's bassist, Nicky Sixx, once decided to set his leg on fire for fun after drinking heavily at the legendary Whiskey A Go-Go. Inspired by their song Live Wire, Sixx doused his pants in rum and lit them up, only to realize too late that it wasn't just for show. Fortunately, the flames were quickly extinguished, but the incident remains a classic Crue moment. In 1978, Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols and his girlfriend Nancy Spungen stayed at the Chelsea Hotel in New York City. Their stay was anything but quiet. Vicious trashed the room to the point that other guests complained about the noise and damage. The couple's destructive relationship became infamous, culminating in the tragic death of Spungen later that year in the very same hotel room, shrouded in mystery and controversy.
Goodbye, Norma Jean, though I never knew at all.
Elton John, known for his extravagant lifestyle, once asked his manager to shut down an entire street in Atlanta because the noise was disrupting his sleep. He later admitted it was one of his most outrageous diva moments.
It's too far. Too far as it gets you arrested in New Haven, Connecticut by Captain...
In 1969, The Doors frontman, Jim Morrison, was performing in Miami when he allegedly exposed himself to the crowd, leading to chaos. Morrison's behavior prompted a warrant for his arrest on charges of indecent exposure and lewd behavior. The incident became a symbol of Morrison's rebellious spirit and the cultural clashes of the era. Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones was arrested in Canada in 1977 after authorities found heroin and other drugs in his hotel room. It was later revealed that Richards had been smuggling drugs across borders in his guitar case for years. The arrest became a massive legal battle, but Richards ultimately walked away with a suspended sentence, and it further cemented his image as rock's ultimate outlaw.
The people treated us real nice. Well, the paper...
In 1958, Jerry Lee Lewis shocked the world when it was revealed that he had married his 13-year-old cousin, Myra Gale Brown. The scandal derailed his career at the height of his fame, with many radio stations banning his music and concerts being canceled. Despite the backlash, Lewis continued to make music, but the incident became a defining moment in rock's early years. During a 1991 Guns N' Roses concert in St. Louis, Axl Rose noticed a fan in the crowd taking photos despite the venue's no-camera policy. Rose abruptly stopped the show, leaped off the stage, and attempted to confiscate the camera himself. After returning to the stage, Rose slammed the microphone down, declared, "Thanks to the lame-ass security, I'm going home," and walked off. His exit enraged the audience, who rioted, causing significant damage to the venue and injuring dozens.
He hid himself more, I would say, from the public than I did.
If one wild Jerry Lee Lewis story wasn't enough, here's another. In 1976, the killer decided to pay Elvis Presley an unannounced visit at Graceland. Allegedly intoxicated and armed with a loaded pistol, Lewis arrived at the gates of Elvis's iconic home, demanding to see the king. Security guards immediately flagged his erratic behavior, and the situation escalated when Lewis began causing a scene. Elvis, reportedly watching the commotion unfold on his security cameras, chose not to intervene, leaving his staff to handle the fiery rock and roll legend. The police were called, and Lewis was arrested on charges of public drunkenness and carrying a firearm. This bizarre and brazen moment cemented Jerry Lee Lewis's reputation for being as unpredictable as his music was electrifying. Sid Vicious fights off an armed attacker. The Sex Pistols' Sid Vicious was known for his self-destructive behavior, but one story showcased a different side of him. In 1978, Vicious and his girlfriend Nancy Spungen were attacked in their New York apartment by an armed robber. Despite being under the influence, Vicious fought off the attacker using only his fists. Although Vicious's life would spiral tragically soon after, this moment showed a rare instance of heroism amidst the chaos of his punk rock lifestyle. Rock history isn't just about the music. It's about the moments that make legends unforgettable. These wild stories remind us why rock and roll will always be larger than life, filled with outrageous antics and bold personalities. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, hit that like button and subscribe for more untamed tales from music history. And remember, rock and roll isn't just a sound, it's an attitude. See you next time and keep the spirit alive.